off, set it off. Go to Vegas, bet it all. Put it on the Bucs win, whoever they gon' play gon' fall. Don't say I ain't told y'all. Loose cannons gon' fold y'all. Yeah, the Heat be 9-3, but it gets real cold in the fall. That's when the season start. Bucs come in 40 hard. Win after win, ripping the division apart. Panthers, they pussycats. Falcons got bird flu. Take the Ravens and Dolphins and open up a zoo. Cause one thing's for sure, better than the Bucs, they show lane. And every day in Tampa Bay, we say fuck the Saints. We in Tampa Bay, baby. 813 going crazy. Tampa, boy. This
What is up, Bucs Nation? It is January 30th, 2025, and you're watching the Loose Cannons podcast. I'm your boy, the Samar Ali, hanging out with my very pale intern, Stank Bastard, and we are joined by Tampa legend, a guy that you hear on the radio if you're down here, or I guess everywhere, because now it's an iHeart deal, the host of The Drive with T-Kras from 95.3 WDAE or 620 AM. T-Kras, welcome to the Loose Cannons, man.
Guys, my pleasure. I finally made it. I'm on the Loose Cannons podcast. It's my pleasure to be here.
Finally, you can add that to your resume, right?
Oh, yeah, you got that right, man. What's going on, Stank?
What's up, man?
Let those producers know, T-Kras, that now that you're probably going to need to have a contract renegotiation here in the next few days because you've leveled up now. Go ahead, Stank.
Yes,
T-Kras, I love you, man. You know why? You've taken on, I'm an OG, Tampa guy, and listening to, way back in the days, the airways with all the legends. But I was a big dog guy. I loved them. And I feel like you've been the one to take up that salty mantra, brother. You don't tolerate any bullshit. I love it so much.
I appreciate it. Maybe I picked that up from Steve, but Steve meant a lot to my career, man. As a friend, as a colleague, he taught me a lot about the business. And I try not to be as salty as I come across at times, but I just try not to BS people. I try to give it straight. And I was talking to Samra before, like, every opinion that I have or every statement that I make is not for entertainment value. I don't just snatch it out of thin air. It's like an informed opinion. So it truly comes from down here.
T-Kras, we haven't talked to you, okay, since some shit went down a couple days ago. Not a couple days, but the last 7 days in Bucs Twitter and Bucs world has been insane. And if you extend it to like 10 days, it was even weirder. So we're going to talk to you about this because we haven't had a chance to actually speak to you about it. I made sure not to listen to the radio since it all went down. Have you ever witnessed anything, being in the media world, anything like what Liam and the Bucs went through last week with the changing of heart, with the secret meetings, with the flying under the radar, with the fakey sick kid who's really a sick kid? Anything like this ever in sports media since you've been kind of doing this?
No. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. Now, there have been certain instances like Bill Parcells leaving the Bucs at the altar twice, and Chip Kelly. And I remember when that went down, when he agreed to become the Bucs coach, and then Phil Knight came in literally at the 11th hour and he put a stop to it, and he stayed at Oregon, and then the Bucs hired Greg Schiano, and the rest is history. But I've never seen a sordid tale where a coach, highly sought after, and then the Bucs really stepped up, and I talked to a lot of people, the events and the chain of events and how everything went down. And the Bucs stepped up. They wanted to keep him. And they actually asked Liam, name your price. Mm-hmm. Name this price. And there was no negotiation. They said, okay, we'll do what you want. 3-year contract. This is what it's going to look like. Almost $5 million a year. And then look, everyone's got a right to change their mind. And I say this all the time on the show. I don't begrudge anybody for going out there, making a living, trying to advance their career. You want to go out there, you want to make $1 million, fine. 5, 12 million, like in the case of Liam, that's fine. But I think there's a certain ethics and a protocol that you have to follow, especially when it comes to an organization like the Buccaneers that gave him everything that he possibly could want, gave him that opportunity to be the OC. And for him to ghost him and then lie and then secretly take that trip up to Jacksonville, I've never seen anything like it.
It was crazy to me that he would just go down the road of basically committing, career suicide, because it's Super Bowl or bust at this point for him as an NFL coach, in my opinion. Go ahead, Stank.
No, you're right. He has to be successful right now. For the management of this team to respond the way they did, and right away, Rick Stroud was on it. You knew that was coming from somewhere that was real. Where there was smoke, there was fire. And since then, I think we all know they weren't happy with the way things went down. I think they would have felt like you, T-Kras, like I would have felt. Everybody would have been like, dude, you can't turn down that kind of money. But, to play the games he did and use the Bucs to leverage the deal and just not answer his phone and all the drama. That's a tight circle. 32 teams, 32 GMs. They all talk. They all do business together, right? They all trade coaches and staff members. And he's already feeling the heat a little bit, I think, right? He wanted to O-line coach, and Jason Light said, no, go pound sand, bro.
Right. Request denied. But he better make it up in Jacksonville, because now this reputation is going to follow him around for as long as he's coaching in the NFL. So he better make the most of it. And look, things change, circumstances change. When Trent Baalke got fired and Jacksonville reached back out to him, just come clean. Just say, hey, they called me. Baalke got fired. I'm interested. Don't lie and do what he did. And I guarantee you, and I said this the day after he got named the coach, one day, and it probably already happened, and he spoke with Rick Stroud, and he basically expressed some remorse. Like, he's going to lean back in the chair of his cushy little office up there. He's going to be like, shit, I think I could have handled that a lot better than I did.
Yeah, what's the meme with the guy crying or drying his tears with the wads full of cash? That's what he's doing there, and I would probably do the same. His wife already came out and said what she said, and then came out just overjoyed. They're set. They're set for life. He doesn't necessarily need to ever get a head coaching job again. They could go retire to the Key West after this experiment in Jacksonville. Maybe he's successful, right? We wanted him for a reason. The guy clearly has something. This team was willing to fork it over and pay him more than Todd supposedly to stay here. So, they wanted him here, but man, whatever. I think
at the end of the day, though, Stank, that kind of action, that kind of character trait isn't something that just happens. That's being true to yourself and being that's his nature. And that kind of shit eventually will come back up again. And that is something that I would consider not a leader of men. Like, the Bucs basically dodged a bullet. Imagine having that kind of guy. Like, we talked about this after when it all happened. Imagine having him in the locker room trying to tell a guy that he's going to play him when he's not going to be playing him, or telling Mike Evans something and speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Eventually, that's going to bite him in the ass. And if you think Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield and any of the guys on this team don't have friends in the Jaguars locker room who haven't spoken back, like, come on, dude, this is reality. There's no way, shape, or form in which that locker room is just openly trusting him 100% with the honesty comment he made the other day. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. You're going to have to start from the very bottom of the trust ladder with those guys. And even then, you might not ever fully earn their trust, especially what happened there with Urban Meyer, with some of the guys that are still there from that time. So it's a bit crazy that he would go down that road, but it's, that's the grave he's dug.
What surprised me, guys, was, and this is what desperate organizations do. The Jaguars have been a losing franchise for many years since Shad Khan bought the team. The Urban Meyer disaster was epic. Mike Mularkey only lasted 1 year. Doug Peterson, he won a Super Bowl, and he didn't last there. So there's a culture problem in that building. To that point, the funny part about that story was that, Liam Coen secretly went up there, called Todd Bowles at around 5:15, and, had the whole – and the fact that he brought his family into it, I mean, that was really unfortunate. But somebody who worked inside of that building in Jacksonville called one of his friends who worked for the Buccaneers, like, you're not going to believe who's in our building.
Yeah. Somebody ratted his ass out.
and that's the thing. You got a leak inside of your building. That shows you what kind of organization that they've been.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So after that, we've all kind of moved forward. The Bucs have been conducting all these offensive coordinator interviews. There's a handful of names that are out there. I believe the first 2 guys they went through, I don't think they necessarily love them, kind of with some of the conversations I've had. But then the guys that they started digging into with the Rams, just interested, T-Kras, do you have a favorite as it relates to Grizz versus Kaylee, and then the Nick or Nate Scheelhaas guy? All these kind of younger, nerdy, next Sean McVay types that are basically coming out of LA. And of course, Grizz he was here. He was a pass game coordinator. He was in charge of third downs with the Bucs, and Liam Coen. You could argue he was a big part of what Liam Coen was doing well. He came from McDaniel, who comes from the Shanahan tree. So there's a lot of moving nerd parts, as I want to call them. But do you have a favorite in this, or do you have an opinion as to how they should go just to kind of keep things moving?
Well, I think the common theme is anybody who's been associated with Sean McVay, his mailman, his butler, the guy who gets him his coffee. I mean, that's the guy you want to talk to, right? So I think they clearly want somebody from that background. Josh Grizzard, I think if you want to maintain some form of continuity, I think he would make a lot of sense. Nate Scheelhaas is really intriguing to me. And I had Anthony Beck on the show yesterday, his son, obviously, Rocco Beck, quarterback for Iowa State. He was at Iowa State, Scheelhaas, and he called plays 2 years ago in 2023. And Anthony told me, look, this guy gets it. He works to the strengths of his offensive players. He got better as the season went along in terms of calling plays like repetitive. The more you do it, the better that you get at it. So I think Scheelhaas and Grizzard, I think those are the 2 guys. If they pick one of those 2 guys, I think I'd be really happy.
What's funny about Scheelhaas is that Bucs legend, friend of the program here, Donnie Abraham, actually coached with him at Illinois when he was really, really young. And he said when he first met him, this guy he thought he was 30-something years old. He was only in his 20s. He said this guy was ridiculously smart. He understood it, and he elevated through that coaching program extremely quickly. And then the guy at Iowa State, Matt Campbell, sees him, says, I got to have this kid. He brings him in. He's calling plays, and seemingly like one and done in the best way possible. Sean McVay had to have him. And then Sean McVay brings him in, and now he's the play drawer, as he calls him, which has been a long line of guys who've gone on to be successful offensive coordinators and eventually head coaches. Liam Coen was the last play drawer before Nate. So here's that guy that falls right into that. And the video that ESPN had put out, I don't know when, at some point in the offseason possibly, about him that I posted on Twitter over the weekend. Like, you watch this guy, you're like, this guy fucking gets it. And Donnie said one thing to me. He said, if they hire him, it is 100% a home run. He's probably going to be better than Liam within a year or 2, just because of how smart this kid has struck him. And I trust Donnie. Donnie's been right about a lot of shit he said to us. And he's been in the coaching room. He's been on both sides of the ball. He said this kid gets it. And don't forget, he also played quarterback in Illinois when he was before he became a coach on top of that.
Yeah, you know what? Samer, I heard that Liam wasn't actually the one drawing the plays for Sean. He had his wife do it, and he lied about it. That's not that information I got.
No, that only when his kid was sick.
Put it out there on the show.
Only when his kid was sick. He was there doing them on the other days, of course. But if his kid had to go, imagine having to fly from LA to your pediatrician in Jacksonville. That's a tough. That's a tough deal, right?
Well, it was Dr. Khan's office up in Jacksonville. That's where he was.
There you go. Yeah, I hope they got a special pediatrician's office in the Jacksonville building for him, though.
Here's the thing: Grizzard's already in the fold, so you could add Scheelhaas and continue to groom Grizzard, because you already know Scheelhaas is going to get a head coaching job next year somewhere. That's just the pipeline now, right? You come and you coach Baker, you get a job, within less than 365 days, you get a head coaching job. So I'm sure Scheelhaas wants the job. Is that how you say his name? We're going to butcher it.
No, we're calling him Scheelhaas, just like that.
Scheelhaas.
Yeah. Scheelhaas. No. What I think would be really interesting, and I'm leaning toward Grizz, but there's one scenario in which I think would be really ideal. Say you get Kaylee, and Kaylee decides, hey, I'm already here with the Rams. I want to bring somebody with me. It makes sense that maybe he kind of packages Nate with him. He brings him over as his passing game coordinator / assistant offensive coordinator. And then you got him, and you already got Grizz in-house, right? Grizz can't go unless it's
Kaylee already took the Houston job.
Oh, I don't think so. As of before the show, he hadn't taken the job yet. No.
No? Okay.
No. They're still interviewing. Ben Johnson, I believe, or not Ben Johnson, the guy who coached the Eagles a couple of years ago, is now the next guy that they're interviewing. But anyway, that would be a really ideal scenario. You got all three of those guys in the building. Then you're like, hey, whoever the fuck else wants to go take a job, it's cool. Or one of them ideally elevates. But yeah, they're all in that same window, that same McVay tree, that amazing pool of talent and just genius minds. It'd be awesome to go that route.
That's where they want to live. And I think the Buccaneers, it's no mistake that, 4 of the 6 guys that they interviewed have connections to the Rams in one way, shape, or form. So Schiehaus, to me, after talking to Anthony Beck, I think he would be my preferred option. Grizzard is probably the 1B, but Schiehaus is like the only guy I think that has called plays of all the guys that they interviewed.
Yeah, I'm curious how much Grizzard is going to, like how much he actually took part of the game day stuff in terms of the actual plays on the field, or if he was in Liam's ear on third down specifically, or if that was something where it's a third down package that he drew up and that was just what they used. But we've seen 2 guys come in here now over the last 2 years that have never called plays come in there and they do a pretty damn good job. I think Liam much better than Dave Canales. But nonetheless, first-time play callers, they really respect what Grizz did this past year and what he brings to the table. And that's kind of why they saved him for that last interview. Also, not to, have him sway their minds or whatever. But from the people I've talked to, I believe it's between those 2 guys. And I think Grizz just has a leg up only because of continuity, continuing exactly what they have, and kind of another fuck you to Liam of like, hey, we're just going to promote everybody and go fuck yourself. Right. And then here's the other thing. Did you know this, T-Kras, that you can't steal any coach you want unless you are interviewing them for an OC or a DC position, and otherwise the team can say no to any of them.
Correct. Usually, if it's a lateral move, they won't allow you to do it unless it's a special circumstance. If you're trying to move to another city to be close to some other family situation or whatever. But yeah, a team can absolutely block you if it's not a promotion. If it's a lateral move, absolutely, they're well within their right to block a team's permission to interview somebody.
Not just the promotion, though. I heard Greg Allman put it out there that it has to be for an OC or a DC position, no matter what. And then anyone else they are allowed to block, regardless of if it's a promotion or not. So if you're going from like third down coordinator to passing coordinator or assistant offensive coordinator, they don't have to say yes to that unless it's a offensive coordinator / defensive coordinator. That's the only 2 options.
Correct.
I didn't know that. I thought it was promotion no matter what, but apparently it's not.
Yeah. And that's the thing with this job. And I can tell you this too. The Bucs have been inundated with people who wanted this job. Like we only know the 6 interviews that they've done. And honestly, guys, I think they're done. I think we're getting close to naming a guy because there was no word today on any other additional interviews. But I can tell you this, so many people too wanted this job and they were knocking on Jason Light's door and Todd Bowles' door. There were a lot of people that find this job attractive because of A, the talent. I mean, look what you're working with. And B, more importantly, it's the fast track to becoming a head coach.
It really is. And like you get why they want to stick with the McVay system, right? It's our triangle offense. Baker, it's perfect for the guy. He ascended again this year. You can give all the credit to Liam Coen if you want. Or maybe he just found his groove and his confidence again. I want to get your opinion on this because we've talked about this a lot, and I pissed a lot of Bucs fans off with my tweets about not giving all the credit to Coen. How do you feel in regards to, who deserves the credit? Baker, Coen, both of them? Like, how did you feel watching this offense this year?
I think Liam Coen deserved a lot of credit for the run game concepts. The way they ran the ball is unlike anything we've seen in the last, 15, 20 years of Buccaneer football. Doug Martin had a great rookie year, but in terms of how they ran the ball and how they executed it, I think Liam gets a lot of credit for that. And the other stuff, look, you can call a play. It's up to the quarterback to set the protections and know what coverage the defense is in and being able to operate. And look, having a great offensive line, top 3 O-line, that helps. Having Mike Evans on one side, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving, who was just an absolute beast. He had weapons everywhere. So I think Baker gets a lot of credit for executing the offense because a lot of big plays he made were off-schedule plays where the play broke down and he's tucking the ball away and he's trying to run over people, which is great. I'd like to see him slide a little more or run out of bounds, but that's
good luck.
That's not who Baker is, man.
No.
He just wants to play that way, and you're fine with that.
Yeah, we mentioned the 49ers game as one of those examples of games where it just felt like the offense, from a play calling standpoint, there were penalties too, some execution nonsense with false starts from the wide receivers and shit like that. But for the most part, there's a lot of Baker kind of willing the team to a first down, willing a bad call into a scramble, and stiff arming Bosa, and then somehow throwing that pass caught by Rachaad White on fourth down. Ridiculous catch, ridiculous throw, ridiculous play. That wasn't the play call. So right. A lot of that does happen throughout the season. But when you really go back and look at some things, you're like, man, having a Mike, having a Bucky, having Kate Otten, even having Chris Godwin early on, having a Baker really does kind of make your job a little bit easier. And when you make a bad call, those guys can kind of pull a rabbit out of the ass kind of scenario, right? So a lot of that didn't get said enough, I think. And some of that maybe, made the Liam Coen thing feel like it was more of a problem than it should be. But at the end of the day, it's the best of both worlds.
T-Kras, you also brought up the other name, Bucky. Yeah. Bucky's different. All right. You didn't necessarily see Rachaad have the same success as Bucky behind the same offensive line in the same system. He had some good games, but Bucky fit exactly what they were doing and made a lot of plays on his own just because he has that innate ability to feel space, find the hole, hide behind guys, make guys miss, incredible balance, has that all-stop balance, just doesn't go down easy. The kid's special.
Not only that, go ahead.
He's unbelievable. I remember being out at minicamp and I'm watching practice and I'm talking to some people like in the Bucs sideline that I see this number 7. I'm like, wow. They're like, dude, wait until we put the pads on and play some games. You're going to see how good he is. You can't catch the guy. He's so elusive. He makes guys miss. And it looks like he's gliding when he runs. Like he didn't run a fast 40 time and underside. That's why he fell to the 4th round.
Yeah.
But when you watch him play and when he gets through the initial line, he's got another gear. It's like, holy cow, he's pulling away from guys once he gets to the second level. He's an incredible player, and he's a great kid too. He's in there at 5 o'clock every morning with Tom Moore, and they're chopping it up. Can you imagine like sitting in a room with Bucky, Irving, and Tom Moore, who's 86 years old, man? Just incredible.
The Bucs have made it a point to find those guys with those chips on their shoulders, the guys that have been told they're too small, not fast enough, you can't make it, that kind of that seems to be a very common theme with those guys. And it starts at Baker, obviously. Dude lives on chips on his shoulder, man. I mean, he probably makes shit up every morning just to keep going. But yeah, man, having Bucky be able to... Bucky solved an issue that we had for many years, which was a guy in the backfield on every run play as a defender in our face. And Bucky was a guy that could finally make that dude miss and make something out of nothing when we needed it. Even though at times he was also, kind of tackled in that backfield. But he does add that element of, if we fuck up, at least he might still be able to make something out of nothing. And sometimes that nothing became a 45, 50, 60-yarder with Baker down the field fucking blocking safeties and shit like a damn linebacker. So, so it worked out for the best. In terms of the other side of the ball, T-Kras, the defense, that's kind of that side of the ball has gotten its ass whooped all season long from everybody, from the fans, from opposing offenses for the most part. Down the stretch, I thought they played better. Todd Bowles took a hell of a beating in the media and in the fan base. What do they need to do in this offseason to kind of address some of that stuff? And I've said that this is going to be kind of Todd Bowles' non-excuse laid out season coming up, to where he really doesn't have an excuse, because I do think they're going to address that side of the ball heavily in all sorts of ways that they possibly can. Free agency, draft, that whole thing. What do you think they need to really focus on that side of the ball to give Todd a little bit more to play with there? Maybe, some more ingredients for his recipe.
Well, number one, Antoine Winfield Jr. has got to stay on the field. And it was a wasted year for him. And it started really in the opener when he hurt his foot, and then he was out 5 weeks, and then he came back and he had the scoop and the score against New Orleans, and then he had another injury. So he never was the player, obviously, that a year ago, he had one of the great years I've ever seen a safety have in the NFL. So it was almost impossible for him to follow up that act, right? But when he's right and he's healthy, then the defense gets to another level. But they also need a lot of help. I mean, they need help on the edge. They need another pass rusher. I don't think there's any question. That's no secret. But as important as getting another edge rusher is, they need a corner, guys, because I like Jamel Dean. He's a good guy, and he dresses nice, but he also can't stay on the field either for 16, 17 games. They need a guy who can play man for man the way Carlton Davis did, who can stay healthy, who can play zone, because Todd Bowles plays zone at a high rate, probably the highest rate in the NFL. So they need a guy who can cover somebody. They need a corner, and they need an edge rusher, and they need Antoine Winfield Jr. to stay upright.
Yeah, Jamel Dean, the nicest person you're ever.
He is.
He's a good guy. He's like a big kid, just so laid back, and I don't think he's a starting NFL corner. I just don't. I mean, at times he flashes, but I think for the most part, he looks completely lost out there. His ball skills have never really developed. T-Kras, we've all been critical of Todd. The media's been critical of Todd. How did you feel about Todd going into the playoffs? I mean, did you feel like he needed to win in order to save his job, or were you on the side where this guy, he's doing the best he can with what he's got, which isn't a whole lot?
I thought he was safe, Stank, honestly. You win 10 games. He won the division for the third year in a row. 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. With all the injuries that he had, he did not have Antoine Winfield Jr. really at all the entire season. Yeah, the defense was bad. They gave up a lot of big plays. They couldn't sustain a rush. He had to try and mix and match and, pressure and blitz a lot. And when you're blitzing, by the way, you're putting guys like out there on an island. And he had guys starting at corner and playing a lot on the back end that he really wasn't comfortable with. So it was difficult. Not that I'm making excuses for him. I still think he's a good defensive coach, but he needs help on game day. He needs help in managing the clock. He needs help from guys. And I thought he had a guy that was helping him use timeouts. And they need to find somebody else, okay? Because I don't know what's happening over there. That guy's not helping him. He needs to find somebody to help him on game day management, clock management, when to call timeouts, when not to call timeouts, 2-minute warning and everything else. He needs a lot of help in that area, and he has to get it this offseason. There's no question. And he needs to be as aggressive as he is, like blitzing guys and blitzing opposing quarterbacks. He's really good at that. He needs to take that mindset into going for it. Like in Kansas City, he should have went for 2. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
You got Mahomes on the other side. There's no way you're getting the ball back against that guy. So he needs to be a little more aggressive in terms of 4th downs, going for it, going for 2. He needs help in that area too.
I think they're gonna be getting him a new timeout nerd, honestly. And I'm not saying that because I saw in the chat too. Someone mentioned it too, but I think that's really the plan in the offseason, is to help him with this time, the time management, clock management, game management stuff that so many of the younger people are so good at because of Madden. Honestly, it's because of Madden, and it's just something that you're innately taught when you play that game. But that's why all those younger guys are so good at it. I don't remember how good Bill Belichick was at it, or if he had a guy that was really good at it, or if that guy was just so obsessed with football that he just knew, because he knew rules that nobody fucking knew. We saw it against the Ravens in that playoff game that one time, and Harbaugh went fucking berserk. He's like, how the fuck is this allowed? Oh, dude, well, it's fucking rules, man. So with all that, do you think they need to address edge rusher in free agency? And if so, do you have a name that you absolutely love, or are you one of those guys that says, go out there and try to get a Myles Garrett, go get a Max Crosby, maybe a Hendrickson, somebody like that, where you're fucking just swinging home runs out there hoping for him?
Like, I wouldn't put anything past Jason Light. You guys know Jason Light. I know him pretty well. He got Jason Pierre-Paul because of due diligence. He was calling everybody around the league. Hey, I'm looking for an edge guy. Anyone available? Nope. Okay, I'll just try the next guy. And then he got to the Giants. Jason Pierre-Paul, yes, he's available. We're changing defenses. He doesn't fit. He's available. Great. 3rd round pick. Beautiful. Done. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Jason do the same thing, just call around the league. He knows a lot of people. A lot of people know him. If you go to free agent route, guys, those guys cost a lot of money. And I don't think the Buccaneers have $20 million for Khalil Mack. Marcus Davenport might be a guy on a 1-year deal. He's been injured the last couple of years on a 1-year prove-it deal, maybe. But I think the draft is where you focus your attention on edge rusher. I'd get an edge rusher. I'd absolutely get a corner. You got to draft a linebacker too. Even if Levante decides to come back, he'll be 35 years old. So I think those three positions, I would just go through the draft. And obviously Jason Light, he's knocked it out of the park the last 2 or 3 drafts. So he's got great people working under him, and I'm confident that they'll be able to go out and get some guys.
When they've gone that route, T-Kras, I don't know if you noticed it, when they've gone the route of let's address X, Y, and Z on offense or on defense, they've signed a guy, whether it's like a level B, and then they also draft the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of hedge the bet scenario.
Yep.
I see a world where they maybe trade for one of the ends that's up in the New York Giants system, because they added Burns last year. They have another guy there who's already there, and then they had a drafted player before him who really doesn't get to play, who could be somebody they could trade for. Maybe a Khalil Mack on like a level B type of scenario, because he is getting older and he might bring a little bit more to the table than what JPP brought, and kind of in the same realm. But they'd have to get creative. Obviously, you have Greenberg to pull that off. But I think whichever route they go, they're going to double dip, in my opinion. So if it's going to be a Davenport, they're still going to try to find that edge in the draft. The problem is they haven't been able to pick in a spot over the last 3 years in the first round where you're going to get a guy who's going to come in and make day one impact. And so it's like you got to trade up. You know how Jason is with trading picks and giving away stuff like that, because he values every one of those picks, especially in the second round and down. Would you be one of those people that would say, you know what, trade up, get 4 or 5 spots higher, lose a pick or two, and just get that edge guy to really solidify that room and help a guy like Yaya out and give Vita and Cansey finally an edge presence, which will help Todd Bowles, will help the corners, it'll help everybody behind them, especially the inside linebackers who have been absolutely terrible. No offense to Levante, getting old in the tooth. But are you in that group of people that says trade up and move up and get your guy no matter what?
A lot can happen between now and the draft, but yes, I am, especially when you're in the position that the Bucs are in. They're like a player or two away. So if you feel like moving up for the kid from Marshall, Mike Green, who obviously went viral with what he did in the one-on-ones, if that guy's available at 13, 14, 15, yeah, you go up and get that guy. If you feel like that's the last piece of the puzzle, you go get him. So I can absolutely see Jason Light doing that. Even though he values his picks, he also understands that there's a window here, and you're like a player or two away from really scaring the shit out of everybody else in the NFC and maybe coming out of the conference. The Lions just lost both of their coordinators. They're going to take a step back. Mm-hmm. A lot of the Commanders I'm worried about because they got a lot of cap space with a rookie quarterback. They're probably going to go out and do some big things, but I think the Lions take a step back. Matthew Stafford's getting older, so the NFC is wide open. It can be had. So if there's an opportunity to get that guy that you think will put you over the top, I think he's going to do that. I think he'll trade up.
Yeah, not only that, we competed and defeated most of the upper echelon teams in the NFC this year. We obviously shot ourselves in the foot against Washington, and that's with this weird ragtag defensive unit. Somehow, and you can be critical, Todd, and I am. I just can't take zone, especially on like 3rd and 2, and you got your corners 10 yards off the ball. There's a lot of that drives me nuts with the guy, but you can't. I mean, somehow we still were in the top 10 in sacks. I don't even remember 46 or 47 sacks, but we are, and I get it. He has to manufacture that by blitzing and dropping guys in the covers that don't belong in coverage. It's frustrating to watch, but giving him an edge presence, I think, changes all of that. You got a guy like, maybe with some speed like Shaq that can get that edge and get to the quarterback in 2 seconds every once in a while. At least put some fear into the quarterback. Allow the inside guys to do what they do instead of always constantly running crazy stunts. I think that's the answer. And yes, you brought it up early. Corner. We need
corner. Stank, that's imperative.
Imagine being able to just call a defensive play and the edge rusher just gets the jump and gets you a sack. Like, I watched those playoff games. I was like, God, wow, we didn't have that once the whole year. We didn't have one beat of the snap, boom, sack. Like Jared Verse. None of those.
Vita and Cansey, maybe splashed a couple of those, but we had Iceman on.
They dominated the pocket until it collapsed. Right. It wasn't a Jared Verse right off the snap, boom, sack. Like not even 1 fucking second, guys down. It was like God, that would have been fucking nice to have. You could have the worst fucking corner out there. Guess what? The ball didn't get thrown, so it didn't matter.
No, and I love Monty Kiffin, but look what he had to work with. A front he could rush for, and the corners could play coverage, and that's what you need, right? You need a force up front. You need to be able to get pressure.
You
blitzed.
need somebody that will keep offensive coordinators up late at night, and that quarterbacks are going to fear. And I don't think the Bucs have that guy right now, with all due respect to Yaya. And look, Vita Vea is tremendous. He had a dominant year. And I think Kalijah Kancey is a guy that can be an impact player. And we saw that this past year. He led the league, led the team in sacks, but they need to try and find somebody. And I don't think Myles Garrett, that's not realistic. I don't think Max Crosby is realistic. Pete Carroll's out there and he was saying some great things. So I don't think they're moving him. They're going to have to try and find that guy either through a trade, if that's even possible, or, the draft is where you build those championship level teams. And I think Jason will consider all different options. But yeah, they need somebody that other teams fear.
I'm just of the belief, T-Kras, that the Bucs had the second youngest team. And while building through the draft is the ideal scenario to go, and the Green Bay Packers, when they had Aaron Rodgers and they won that Super Bowl, that's the route they took, and the good teams do that consistently. I think we've done that really, really well. But at some point, you get to a fork in the road, you say, all right, we got to go get a JPP. We got to go get somebody that can kind of elevate these guys, be a dog, not have a guy that always has to kind of learn from somebody else. Now, this guy's teaching other dudes. You got to, you need that Luke Longley sometimes. You need that old Horace Grant on your team with the Lakers and Kobe and Shaq. Horace Grant, AC Green, like those guys mattered on that team. Robert Horry, they weren't stars, but they did their job. I think the Bucs need some, and it's been proven when Jason knows that moment has come, he goes out and he finds that guy. Because I think you need a little bit of that veteran leadership in that room, being especially on the defense. They're just they don't have like an identity. And that's not a shot at Levante, because Derek Brooks was a quiet guy, but they had a Warren Sapp, right? And
this guy, T-Kras?
Not taking a shot. He's a quiet leader. He's a quiet leader. Derek Brooks benefited from having a loud ass Warren Sapp. That guy was a lawnmower mouth, okay?
Only one more.
You need one of those.
I think Levante David is more vocal than you guys think. Knowing Levante the way I have the last few years, man, I'm
pushing his buttons. I'm trying to push his buttons, T-Kras, every week.
I bet you are. And look, I think Levante hears some of that too. But Levante David is more fiery and more vocal than you guys think. Trust me. Well, and how much longer he's going to play, who knows? Yeah. I'll give you guys a name, okay? And if you watch the Dallas Cowboys and observe everything that they've done, their owner's senile. He has no idea what he's doing. I think he's lost cognitive ability to make, sound decisions.
I can't believe
if they, for whatever reasons, what's that?
I can't believe that you would say that about me, T-Kras.
Say that. If they, for whatever idiotic reason, made Micah Parsons available, then that's the guy.
You just made Sammer's day. Sammer. You just gave Sammer the glory hole he's been looking for. Because if Micah Parsons ends up on this football team,
listen, if there's a trade that could be made, okay, and if there was a town that could possibly trade a glory hole, it would be Tampa Bay. Okay, we got him. I'm telling you,
it's a well-renowned glory hole.
It's right down the street from the stadium. I mean, listen, Jerry, send us Micah. You got a one-way. No, I will pay every time you visit one of them glory holes down at Odyssey. I got you, dude. I got you. I'll put $100 every one of them. No problem. Take the whole fucking row of them.
You just take all the glory holes. Jerry to Drew Park, and he's good.
All of them, dude. You send Micah Parsons, shit. I'll even recruit the girls on the other side of the glory hole. All right, anyways, I'm just saying. But if there was ever a scenario for that trade to go down, and he told us what he wants, he said it's not like that anymore. The glory hole, like he's told us, he's given us his price. All right, T-Kras, we need to send glory holes back to Dallas. That's how we get him.
Getting Micah Parsons here. Absolutely. I'll send my second born child. I'm not really that attached. Whatever. Bring Micah here. I'm good.
I have extra children just for trade scenarios. Okay, I don't need them.
Well, keep them handy. You might, they might need to be shipped out.
Yeah.
I mean, are you telling me Jerry wouldn't take a couple of brown children? I mean, what are we talking about? T-Kras, you might get fired after the show. Just an FYI.
Yeah. By the way, T-Kras does not condone anything that comes out of Ruth in his mouth. None. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But of all the big guys that have been mentioned, I get this all the time every day. Let's go get, Max Crosby. Let's get Myles Garrett. I don't think they're realistic, but
Yeah, I don't either.
I would keep an eye on Micah Parsons, and I would keep an eye on the Cowboys because
I've been saying
it seems like they're headed in opposite directions. And if they even think about putting that guy out there, then you have to. Jason Light should make that phone call in 2 seconds.
You got to send Jamel Dean, right? Makes
that
sense,
was a comment.
I'm sure that's a fair trade.
Yeah, that was the comment in the chat.
No, I mean, with whatever. Jerry Jones has no idea that he has no hips. Okay. He has no idea that he was somehow listed with 3 knee injuries. Okay. Like, that's the guy you send because Jerry Jones isn't going to do the math on that. He's just going to be like, oh, I'm getting a corner and I'm getting a bunch of picks.
Jamel Dean from Micah Parsons, straight up, Jerry.
Straight up. Do that. Click that little override all trades button on Madden. Accept all trades. Yeah, that's great. I've been saying Micah Parsons, and people have been saying I'm an idiot. Listen, T-Kras, you and I are kind of the same guy now. I kind of like this, man. Kind of like.
Not gonna happen.
Hey, I guess great minds think alike. I guess I'm in trouble.
He's a podcaster like us, though. That's one thing I don't like about Micah. Just shut up and play.
What are you talking about?
A lot of guys do it, Stank.
Yeah, I know.
I'm telling you, man. Every time I'm on social media, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this guy had a podcast. That guy had a podcast. They all do it.
Yeah.
Fred Warner's life is a reality show on the 33rdteam.com, Stank. I don't think it's affected Fred Warner's play on the field.
No,
I'm on Ross St. Brown, does a podcast every week. I see that. And that dude goes out there and catches 10 balls a game. I mean, a lot of these guys do it. It's 2025. It's the age that we live in now.
Let's slide back over.
I'm old fashioned. I don't like it.
Yeah. Okay. let's slide back over to offense. Chris Godwin, everyone keeps talking about we can't lose Chris Godwin, and then the other half of the fan base, fucking morons, are like, oh, let him go. We got Jalen McMillan now. No big deal. Let's not overpay. I have heard that there's no scenario in which Chris Godwin is not a Buccaneer next year, and it makes sense for them to sign him before a certain date, which will help them save $18 million, which is even more of a reason to say he's definitely going to be back. I'm assuming you agree, T-Kras. Chris Godwin should stay, never in any way, shape, or form is he not going to be a Buck, at least for the next 2 or 3 years.
Agreed. And look, in a funny way, and I've been talking about this since the season, since Godwin got hurt, really, and the season ended. This has been a hot topic. I think he's coming back. He loves Tampa Bay. The Bucs love him. And kind of like in the, I don't want to say funny way, but when he got hurt, I mean, he was having the best year of his career. Had he not gotten hurt, guys, probably his number would be 27, 28 million a year, like Jalen Waddle type of money. That's what he would have commanded. Now, I don't know if the number is that high. I think it's probably around 20 million. It kind of depends on where he's at with his rehab. But I would be stunned if Chris Godwin left, honestly.
Yeah, unless somebody's willing to overpay him, I don't think anybody values him more than we do. Outside of that, liar up in Jacksonville, maybe. But even then, how many guys want to follow that guy? I don't think
I was going to say, there's no way anybody in this building wants to follow that guy after what just happened, especially with the lies that you've said ever since he's even left. So, but the only scenario in which, a team would overpay, Greenberg's told us multiple times that they go into those meetings with a chart that shows them what they're actually getting paid in another state versus what we're actually going to pay you here in Florida, where, hey, guess what? No income tax. So They use that to their advantage in the negotiations, in the presentation. Chris Godwin knows who the Bucs are. And I think a big part of this is he's had 2 major injuries. And in both of those injuries, the Bucs have been absolutely just respectful and supportive and just been as much in that room with him in rehab as much as possible. And that goes a long way with these guys. And yeah, they did luck out that he got injured. I said the same thing that same night. At least now we can afford him. It's shitty, but at least now we can afford him. And I think
that's the reality.
That loyalty goes a long way with a guy like Chris. And he's so happy to play with Mike. Him and Mike really value that. Like, they have a very, very close relationship, best friends off the field. That's a big deal, man. And like getting up and moving after you had a kid and your life is changing, that's not as easy as people realize. Just like it wouldn't be for us to get up and move. It would be, I'd be shocked if he was not a Buck.
Yeah, not to mention he'd have to look at Trevor Lawrence's face every day.
Who would go from beautiful Baker, okay, who's willing to truck a motherfucker, to a guy who's got a horse face and is always in concussion protocol? Come on, dude. Come on. You better get to know his backup quarterback if you're signing a contract to go play for that guy.
That's true.
And guys, if they bring him back, I mean, good luck trying to defend the Bucs with Mike on one side, Chris Godwin in the slot, Jalen McMillan, who came on like gangbusters. I mean, they can just literally name their number and average 30 points per game with the way they run the football. I mean, it would be truly explosive and multiple, and it would be a problem for a lot of teams in this league.
Plus, Tyreek's going to be here, right? Didn't he say he's coming?
No.
Okay.
That was a hot topic on the show because he tweeted, "Oh, I'm going to Tampa. It'll take me 3 hours to get there. Whatever, dude. If you're on a rocket ship, maybe." And then people are like, "Oh, he's coming here." You just said, I don't know why he's coming here. Who knows? And he was spotted at the Brandon Mall, by the way.
It's the glory holes. It's the glory holes.
Probably. Exactly. That's why he came.
Yep.
Even though he brought all of his kids with him.
He definitely came. He left some kids behind, too, by the way. So what I was going to say is people don't realize that we didn't really see Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and this version of Jalen McMillan. Also, with that version of Bucky. Also, with that version of the offensive line's run blocking. It wasn't going on like when we were playing the Ravens and the Chiefs and the teams after Chris. Like, we didn't get that yet. So Jalen McMillan took his time to really, cook and figure out exactly how to be a pro. And once it finally happened and he got himself healthy and it clicked, you're like, wow, this guy is going to be something, to deal with. And you bring that and add that to Chris Godwin, who was the fucking engine of that offense up until his injury, man. And then Kate Otten came on. Like, all these things that grew up in front of us, all those pieces didn't get to play with ideal prime Chris Godwin, who's probably going to take a little bit of time to get going as well when he comes back from that injury. But you're going to have a much different, more potent offense. And you got Baker, who absolutely is the reason all these offensive coordinators are getting jobs, by the way. It's like we need to have that conversation. At what point do we say it's Baker instead of, oh, these guys are helping Baker? At some point, you have to say, hey, it's Baker. It's Baker being a major part of it.
I'm already saying it.
Baker called the plays. I'm saying it right now.
No, it's a great point. Look, I mean, without a quarterback, guys, you're not going anywhere in this league. And a quarterback can make an offensive coordinator look probably better than he actually is. And what Baker's done here in the 2 years has just been phenomenal. And look, I have taken responsibility for this on the air about 1,000 times in the last 12 months. I wasn't a Baker guy. I didn't think it was a good fit. I didn't think he was mature enough, but since he's come here, guys, he's been mature. He's been tough. He's been a leader. He's been embraced by the coaching staff, the players, this entire community. And I was 1,000% wrong. And I've apologized on the air about 400 times.
I'm currently still the owner and creator of Trask Can Incorporated. I wanted Trask. I still kind of do, honestly, in a weird way. I still think, Kyle's better than Baker, but we'll never get to see that. And I didn't want Baker here. Did you ever
pick up all the trash cans that you left around downtown Tampa? Or no?
No, I never will. You
left them out there.
Yeah.
They're full. It might be time to empty them out. Just saying. Yeah, listen, Baker's
Trask's going to be a Raider. Watch. He's going to be starting quarterback for the Raiders this year.
You really think
Trask.
You really think John Spytek, Michigan man, smart motherfucker, big brain, football doc is going to go and hitch his wagon to a Kyle Trask?
Yeah. I mean, Brady was in the same quarterback room. Could be something there.
Yeah.
Could be something there.
T-Kras.
Well, he better not be the guy. I mean, look.
He's better than anybody they got right now.
I don't think so. No.
Brock Bowers probably better quarterback.
Better quarterback.
Really? Brock's going to run the Taysom offense and for Raiders.
You snap it to him and just have him throw
the ball to himself. That's right. He's going to throw it to himself 120 times.
Tom, if Mickey Loomis called you right now and said, "Listen, man, we don't know each other, but somebody's got to coach the New Orleans Saints. Are you interested?" What would you say, Tom?
I think I'm overqualified, honestly.
I agree. I agree.
That's a bad job, and there's a reason why that job is the only job remaining. And I talked about this on the show when all the jobs were available, and I was ranking them from best to worst. I thought the best job was the Patriots job by far. 120 plus million in cap space, a top 5 pick. You got the quarterback in place, so Mike Vrabel's walking into a great situation. And I thought the Saints job, I thought the Jets job and the Saints job were the two worst jobs, and the Saints were right at the bottom.
Good. I hope they stay there forever.
The guy they interviewed twice said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and wait till 2026. I'm going to work on myself.
Right.
It's not you guys. It's me. I'm going to work on myself.
Right. But I got some tea times that they said I couldn't get my deposit back for. So,
yeah. Thanks, no thanks. But listen, best job in the NFL is fired head coach. Okay. I'd take the job, Stank. I go in there, throw a couple of, F-bombs around, yell at the owner's wife, do whatever I got to do to get fired within 3-4 weeks. And guess what? I got the whole contract paid out. No big deal. Solid.
You know what's funny, guys? Cliff Kingsbury is still getting paid by Arizona.
See?
And he's the offensive coordinator, is doing and I saw the story the other day. Wow, he's going to remain the offensive coordinator. I'm not sure who was looking at him seriously to be head coach, but he's still getting paid from Arizona, which is just wild to me.
Dude, we paid Greg Schiano.
I was going to say, are the Glazers still paying Dirk Cutter?
Dirk Cutter.
That's an owner you want to work for, by the way. The Glazers. I mean, they were paying a lot of different people.
We were paying 3 guys at one time.
They were.
And we were like, we got to go get Bruce Arians. What? Part 4, I guess. Why not? Yeah.
They'll pay as many coaches as it takes.
Yeah, I listen, if it was me, I'd be paying Greg Schiano forever just to make sure he never comes back. That'd be pay him forever to just fuck off, dude. Yeah, I would have uninstalled every thermostat in the entire building after that guy's
man, I could tell you some stories because
Do tell.
Give me a Greg Schiano story.
The statute of limitations got to be out now, T-Kras. You can spill right here on this show.
Locker room every day because at the time, DAE had hired me. My primary job was covering the Bucs, and I was doing updates, and I was a fill-in host. So that was my responsibilities. But covering the Bucs, being there every day, writing articles for the website, yada yada yada. So when you're in there every day, you see a lot of different things, and hated by everybody, including like the PR staff at the time. Hated them. And I remember, and
great
as a young guy, like covering a team, like going in there every day, when you go into a locker room, guys, like that's the player's sanctuary. And usually you don't see coaches in there at all. The only time in all the years, and I'm sure Rick Stroud and Greg Auman can talk more about this because they've been around a lot longer than I have, Scott Reynolds as well. The only time in all the time that I was in that Greg Schiano went into that locker room one time when there was a media availability, and he's walking around and he's eating a chicken salad and he's walking around just kind of looking at people, and players are looking at him like, dude, what are you doing in here? Like, just he never fit in well around here, and it was a mistake from the first day the Buccaneers hired him. It was a mistake, and there's a lot of other things that happened in that building as well. The whole MRSA thing was just terrible. I remember Carl Nick showed me his toe one day. It was the size of freaking North Dakota.
I should have known. I should have known Greg Schiano was a chicken salad having ass motherfucker. That's the worst.
It was bad, man.
You eat chicken salad, you shouldn't be coaching football. That should be right.
I agree.
He was just walking around like the older place. Like you're the head coach, but the locker room, that's where the players hang out. That's where the players convene and they mingle, especially during the media availability. We're in there during the week, so I just thought that was really peculiar.
Well, the Glazers went from a coach that was hanging out with players at the strip club to one that wouldn't get the fuck out of the locker room. So, it was definitely a juxtaposition. It just makes where we're at today so much sweeter, which is why I wasn't in a hurry to get rid of Todd Bowles, because that locker room, the camaraderie they built, it's not perfect. Yes, there's been a lot wrong, especially on the defense side of the ball, but those guys love Todd. And I'm sure you talk to more players than we do. They love that guy.
They do. I mean, that's the one thing. And this is what I try to tell fans, like every week, Bowles got to get fired. We got to fire Bowles and promote Liam, which is, how do you like that one right now? They love Todd Bowles. There was never any lack of heart, lack of hustle. Nobody ever laid down. You never saw that ever in the last few years. So they love and respect that man.
The biggest thing for me, T-Kras, was you kind of expect the defensive players to, take ownership of when things go bad and not let their coach take the blame, right? That's just kind of, par for the course. But offensive players used to stick up for him. The guys on the other side of the ball that didn't really deal with him as much as the other side, they would stick up for him. And they would always say, like Rashad would say to us, Mike would say to us, he gave it to them in the locker room. He gave it to them in film study. Like, he was just very conscious of how he presented himself publicly. Because if you're, he's what he believed that I got to look a certain way, I got to act a certain way, and if I want my guys to be calm and composed, they got to be able to look at me and do the same thing. I think Tony Dungy just never really laid into the guys, and so it's a little bit of an unfair comparison when people compare it to, but they loved him. And in all the years that they've had, I think it's now 2 years, maybe 3 years, where they've had a losing streak in the middle of the season, not once was there a players-only meeting. Not once did something leak where someone's unhappy. Not once did we hear, fuck this. Like, nothing ever happened during the worst moments. And we had Greg Schiano. Everyone knew. They fucking hated him when they went on a losing streak. Everybody knew what Raheem was doing. Everybody knew nobody liked Mike Smith. Everybody knew when Dirk Cutter was finally like, when he's saying, I don't know, everyone's like, well, fucking, how are you coaching this motherfucker? All of those things, not one fucking peep. When everything was going the Bucs, the wrong way for the defense, still guys stepped up and said it's not on him. Shaq Barrett, after he said, hey, it's not on Todd. That was our fault. That blitz against the Rams in that playoff game, he said we should have fucking done our job. It wouldn't have mattered. Like, that speaks a lot to me. And that's why I kept saying, you guys want to fire a guy who the locker room has completely bought into. That's a big deal. And you fire him, how do they react? How do they go, well, he didn't deserve to be fired? Then you've got a whole fucking can of worms, and now you destroy everything you've been working on since Tom Brady and BA came here. You fuck it all up by just firing a guy for no reason at all. That's why I said, even if he didn't win that playoff game, he was coming back, because they knew going into those 2 seasons, 2025 is the goal. Let's just get there, pay our credit card bills, and let's get there. So him getting there now, it's like, all right, now it's do or die for Todd, in my opinion.
I agree. And that's exactly what I said the day after the season ended. Look, he never deserved to get fired, even though there were people calling up after they lost to the Commanders in the playoff game. I was on the air for 3 hours. We got to fire Bowles. Like, he ain't getting fired, dude. All right. Now, 2025, the next day I came on, I'm like, look, 2025 is it. Todd Bowles has got to get into the playoffs. He needs to make a deep run into the playoffs in order for him to justify coming back in 2026. And he's going to have to change some things that he does. If he wants to continue to call plays on defense, that's fine. That's his baby. He's never going to give that up, by the way. Then you're going to need help in terms of managing the clock, knowing what to call timeouts, challenges, go for 2, and that sort of thing. So he needs help in that area. I hope he gets it this offseason. But there's no question that he's going to need a deep run into the playoffs, because this team will be formidable next year.
The other thing,
I think this fan base, especially going from Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles, like, you can't get 2 different guys. Bruce is just a personality, will call people out, call Tom Brady out in press conferences and shit. And Todd's never going to be him. And I think a lot of us miss seeing the frustration and hearing BA say exactly what I'm feeling. And then you got Todd, who's just that one note, you can tell he's a little frustrated under the surface, but is never going to say it. And I think that for some reason that really irritates fans.
But that's why those players love him, Stank. He's never going to throw him under the bus. Like, they know I fucked up, and they see Todd out there saying, we got to communicate better. Every time he says communicate better, I know he's saying those motherfuckers aren't doing their job, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say it to them. That's a different style, but it works, because they don't give up. They play for him. They fucking fight for him. To go through those losing streaks and still bounce back and go on a winning streak, that tells you how much they fucking want to fight for the guy, and they respect the fuck out of him. So yeah, absolutely.
And thank God you got a guy like Baker in that locker room, because he brings that intensity that our coach doesn't have. You need it from somewhere, right?
He's the BA on that side of the ball.
I get. I mean, he's the BA in the locker room. Yeah. That guy brought something that was desperately needed coming off the loss of Tom Brady. It was like a godsend to have that guy in there.
And he's fun.
And this is what I say to a lot of fans. Like, you want Bowles fired? You like Baker Mayfield? You know why he's here? Because Todd Bowles wanted him here.
Yeah.
Dave Canales hired Todd Bowles. Liam Coen hired Todd Bowles, even though he just left. So there's a lot of things that Todd Bowles doesn't get credit for. That
they won't give him that credit. All the blame, none of the credit. None of the credit.
And it was funny. I think it was a Saints game. Like, the closest that I've ever heard Todd Bowles calling out players was the halftime interview going into the locker room, where, the Bucs had, obviously, the Saints like hit on a couple of big passing plays, and TJ Reeves, I love TJ. He asked him, hey, what happened there in the first half? He's like, well, and Todd's like, these guys need to get their heads out of their asses, the guys in the secondary. So that was perfect. And message received, because they came back in the second half.
But that's who he actually is. Like when you meet him and you're hanging out with him, he's a football guy. It's just he doesn't present the way people want him to be presented. It's kind of the dumbest thing possible. It's like if the fucking players in the locker room like him and how he is, and they fucking respond, who gives a fuck if he's out there in a suit, short sleeve hoodie? Like who gives a fuck if he's biting his nails? Not biting his nails. Who cares?
Also, win with him.
Win,
right? We can talk about players liking him, but just look at what he's accomplished. And look at what he's accomplished when he was handed a bag of fucking dynamite, with shit going off like, okay, Tom's coming back. No, he's not coming back. BA gets kicked upstairs. Here you go, Todd. Here's your second opportunity. And he had to figure that shit out. We get through that season, and then, okay, Tom's leaving.
And he was forced Byron.
What?
He was
right?
forced to keep Byron.
Yeah. Right. Everybody's like, fucking, Tom's leaving. It's over. It's over. Mm-mm. And somehow he's kept this ship afloat and gets no credit for that either.
And he's widely respected. I mean, he may not come out like Bruce Arians used to do and criticize players, but he rips into players privately. And that's something that, they keep everything in-house. They keep everything in the meeting rooms. They keep everything in the locker room. There's a reason why, halftime of those games, like the last 5 games, they gave up a combined 9 points where they were not very good in the first half. He made adjustments. And in a couple of those games, and I know for a fact the Saints game, there was some furniture moving in that locker room. And Todd Bowles was right there in front of it. Baker was as well, by the way.
Did some of the guys he had out there starting help him move the furniture? Because they were qualified to work at Ashley Furniture, not actually cover NFL wide receivers.
So before the game, they actually brought the furniture in to that locker room, and then they changed.
And he's like, "Hey, man,
since you guys are here, I'm gonna have you go. We're gonna be playing cover 2 on these. Just go ahead and memorize this.
You ever play high school ball?
You know what cover 3 means? That guy. No.
Since you're not good enough to cover the receiver, I'm gonna need you to move that couch over there.
Yeah.
You know what? He looked at Funderburk after the first half of that one game. Yeah, he said, "Hey, listen, he threw a couch across. Pick that motherfucker up. Put it in the. You're not playing the second half. We're gonna go ahead and just go with whatever the fuck, Hayes. I don't remember his fucking first name. And then Hayes got to play for that. No, but to your point about him having to change some things, I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now, and him allowing his right-hand man to go and go coach with the Detroit Lions. A guy that's been with him since he was up in New York with the New York Jets, now all of a sudden not part of the coaching staff on defense. So that kind of signals to you that Todd is maybe trying to get younger, get fresher ideas on that side of the ball. Probably not going to see some of those things happen until they figure out who their offensive coordinator is, but people talk a lot of shit about Todd's system and this and that, but Glenn just got the job with the New York Jets, and guess what his system is based on and follows a lot of the same principles. The guy he played for in Todd Bowles. So I think some of the stuff we saw from him was just, how am I going to do what I really want to do with these guys? Yep. If I want to make Greg Schiano's fucking chicken salad, I can't do it without the right ingredients. That's the whole thing. So we'll see, though. This year, he'll be given enough pieces to where they're like, hey, they'll be able to look him in the eye after the season and be like, we gave you what you needed. And we did as much as we could.
And that's the bottom line. He needs better players. Let's be honest, guys. He needs better players. He needs a guy off the edge that teams will be scared of. He needs a corner, and he needs Antoine Winfield Jr. to stay healthy.
Yeah, and we need linebackers and some depth at linebacker. And I don't think Jordan Whitehead, I don't even know who that was, because that wasn't the Jordan Whitehead we were expecting to see come back. Maybe he was dealing with injuries too. So a lot of changes coming on defense.
Yeah, he wasn't healthy. Yeah. All right, T-Kras, we've had you here for over an hour, which is not normal. But
wait, you can't let him go without asking him the fucking questions, Sammer.
Who the fuck you thinking, man?
What questions?
You know what I am, Stank? Come on, I'm a professional. This is a professional program sometimes, all right? T-Kras, every guy we come on here, or every guest we have come on here, has to answer 2 very, very important questions, and these questions determine if you're ever coming back here or not. Okay? So, it's universally accepted that chicken wings are the greatest football food known to man. There is no other food that you should be eating during a football game, okay? So, with that being said, question 1. When you are having those chicken wings, are you going dry rub, or are you going dripping down your elbows covered in sauce of any kind?
Oh my gosh. You guys are probably not going to have me on after I say this. And I know what the standard is around here, but I'm more of a dry rub guy.
Hey, no, that's the right answer. Okay,
no,
that's the right answer.
It's not the wrong answer
for him, not for you, Sam. You like the stuff coming down your
absolutely. I want to take a shower after I've had wings. Okay, that's like But both of them are
take
accepted.
a shower after this show, right?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I actually took a shower during the show.
That question actually doesn't matter. That was the warm-up.
That's
question.
a warm-up.
This is the only question that actually matters. Yeah.
Yeah. So while you're having your dry rub wings, hopefully lemon pepper, are you dipping them in the greatest dip known to man? The thing, blue cheese came directly from God right after he,
that's right.
Did whatever he was doing with the whole building of the universe thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you dipping them in blue cheese or are you dipping them in, what do we call it, Stank? Trailer gravy? Yeah. Are you dipping them in, or ranch, as some people call them? Or are you going blue cheese, T-Kras?
I'm more of a ranch guy.
Oh,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Aren't you from New York?
Oh, my
goodness. I am. Well, I live here now, though.
Well,
New York is like...
Hey, your loose cannon's one and done. I'm sorry.
Unless you're willing to dip
Are you willing to change?
Live on the show in some blue cheese and eat it. Are you anti-blue cheese or you just prefer ranch?
Anti-blue cheese. I just prefer ranch. I'm not anti-blue cheese. You guys are blue cheese.
And if you're a dry rub guy, you probably don't even need it. Either one. Sometimes you just want to eat it straight off the bone, no dipping, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Kind of depends.
Dry rub is elite for sure.
Are you willing?
What's a soggy wing? You want it crisp.
I do. I'm a crisp guy.
Do you know if Greg Schiano dips his wings in chicken salad or not?
He dips them in chicken salad.
In chicken salad.
Yeah, probably does. Yeah.
He's scooping up that fucking disgusting ass chicken salad in his 75-degree building on his wings, dude. While he's yelling at people to get their toes out of his food or whatever the fuck he was saying to him. What was it?
Chicken salad. Toes on the line.
Yeah, toes on the line. So he was always walking around with chicken salad, or was it just that?
No, it was just that one time. I just thought it was just
bizarre.
Kind of looking at him like, and he wasn't talking to anybody. He was just walking around, like observing people, like eating his lunch.
In a room where they're walking around nude or half nude, this guy's having fucking chicken salad.
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm never going to be able to look at chicken salad the same now. And listen, but we'll end the show here a little bit, but listen, T-Kras, I used to go to the games, okay, and I would sell my season ticket to a Bucs fan, and I would buy a ticket every single home game to get as close behind the Bucs bench as possible just to yell obscenities at that man. No joke. This is 100% real. I would almost always get escorted out by security because I would just cuss it. Fuck you, Greg, the entire game. The entire game.
I'll say this. I give him this credit because he took the abuse that man took while he was here was unlike anything I've ever seen in my broadcasting career. Like, we used to have the Greg Schiano show, and we used to let people call up. I don't know if did you ever listen to that show?
Yes,
I'm sure unbelievable.
I did.
Yeah. It was the best show on the radio. And caller after caller just like annihilating him. Like, you should be in high school coaching. Your defense stinks. You stink. I mean, how in the world are you coaching our team? And then Greg Schiano calmly, I understand your frustration. We're trying to get it fixed.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
To every caller, but it was awesome.
Fuck
That's all. That is awesome.
God, I hate it.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's what makes being a Bucs fan special, right? We had to endure that, and then we got the payoff in the ultimate way with the season that doesn't still even make any sense, and got to step on the Saints' neck to do it. Like, all of it's like a fucking Disney fairy tale. So,
guys, I got to tell you something. I got to give you in on something.
Breaking news.
This is kind of breaking news. So I'm going to New Orleans next week. I'll be on Radio Row.
You're taking
week leading up to the Super Bowl.
Hell yeah, we're going with.
You going? You guys are going?
You're inviting us. Are you
inviting us right here on live show?
Right?
No.
WDAE is making sure we're out there. Is that what's going on?
I'm not inviting you necessarily. I mean, if you want to come and show up, I mean, it would be a pleasure to have you.
Say John Mamula, Stank will be out there with a microphone, barefoot on the field, interviewing players.
Mamula doesn't work there anymore.
But here's
just kidding. Oops, my bad. Shout out to you, John. Good dude.
You just got him his job back. Unbelievable. Way to go.
So today, so we're booking interviews for all of next week. I'm trying to get Jameis on. I think we'll be able to make that happen. I like Jameis personally, by the way.
So do I.
Love that guy.
But the one guy that I think I'm going to get, favorite of yours, Cam Jordan, is probably going to join me one of those shows next week.
Why?
Why?
Can you give us a heads up as to which day that would be, just so we could kind of accidentally be there?
You know which day? Yeah.
Your people haven't reached out to me.
I've said some things. What's that?
Your people haven't reached out to me on when you guys are having us on there. That's I'm sure just the miscommunication scenario. Which
it's got to be miscommunication. We'll fix that.
Yeah,
we'll fix that for sure.
If you could just pass them a message, just say Bucs fans everywhere. You just give him a hug. Thanks for coming on the show. Hey, Bucs fans everywhere. Whisper it right in his ear. Hey,
you look like a fucking magician.
Yeah, fuck you. Just right in his ear. I know it's
and he knows it too. And look, I've said some things about him. I don't like his antagonistic attitude, and he saw it too on social media. So this should be interesting. And I'm going to tell him, like, look, Bucs fans don't like you, and he absolutely knows that. I think he's a smart guy. He's been a really good player. He's definitely walking up the fairway on 18 right now, as are a lot of other players on that Saints team. But I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Without a ring on his hand.
That's right.
Yeah, he's blocked both of us, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, just let him know that when he looked like a magician a few years ago, that's our favorite look on him.
Yeah, tell him to bring that back.
Dumb magician mustache.
He's got a future in the Magic community.
Yeah, he looked like he always had a suitcase in it, just in case there was a birthday party no one had plans on. Yeah.
Very David Copperfield like, I remember.
Yep.
Here, ask him this question. How do you feel about all your stats being padded because you had Drew Brees' offense? And then let him answer. I just want to see what he says.
I don't think he's gonna do that. T-Kras, for those of you who don't know, how about you just let them know where they can find you, even if they're not in Tampa Bay, to hear it on the air, how they can listen to you, where they can follow you. I don't know if you have podcasts going on other than the stuff that gets turned into a podcast from your show and whatnot.
Well, you can find me in a dumpster most nights, but during the day, 3 until 7, The Drive, on your drive home on 95.3 FM, AM 620, also streaming through the iHeartRadio app. You can listen to us from anywhere through the app. So it's awesome. And commercial-free podcasts of the show are available through the app. So we're on Monday through Friday, and I do pre- and post-game for the Buccaneers, countdown to kickoff and overtime. And I've done that for 13 years now, so I can't believe it. It's just been that long, but it's been
that makes me feel
a great ride.
That's a good number, though. 13 is a great number in Tampa now. That's the number here.
Yeah,
when my kids turn 13, I'm going to kill them. So, that's just, it feels like that's the way to go.
That's pretty traditional for Ali family members. Listen, if you don't know T-Kras, fuck you, first of all.
Yeah.
Go follow him. Watch him. He's a great follow on Twitter. Make sure you follow him on Twitter.
T-K-R-A-S on Twitter, T-Kras. Tom Krasnicky, obviously. I was given that nickname years ago. But I'm on Twitter at T-Kras. T-Kras, WDAE on Instagram. So check it out.
Next time
Thank you for everybody who watched.
You're
Thank you for the super chats that we didn't get to read, by the way.
You're going to have to bring blue cheese with you next time you come on. Yeah, sorry for
blue
the super
cheese.
Chats. I don't know how many there were. Maybe
there were a few, and sorry, we had a special guest, so we didn't read any super chats. But thank you for your money, anyways. We do appreciate it, and we love you.
All right, and we'll see you guys at some point next week, and or probably right after the Bucs, announce who they're hiring for the OC position, and all those good things. Hey, T-Kras, thank you so much for hanging out.
Appreciate it, man.
That was
guys.
awesome.
This was fun. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
dude.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
It's kickoff, set it off. Go to Vegas, bet it all. Put it on the Bucs win, whoever they gon' play gon' fall. Don't say I ain't told y'all. Loose cannons gon' fold y'all. Yeah, the Heat be 9-3, but it gets real cold in the fall. That's when the season start. Bucs come in 40 hard. Win after win, ripping the